cast away, island lost at sea. Oh, nothing lonely day, no one here but me. Oh, more loneliness than any man could bear. Rescue me before I fall into despair. Send it out, SOS. 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 Send it out, an SOS.
Jean-Paul Sartre says, everything has been figured out except how to live. So perhaps the better question is not what are we to do with death, but what are we to do with life? Life exists in individual moments, and it is up to us to make sure that those moments are vast, interconnected, and grand, to make a masterpiece out of life, one that we would willingly live again and again for all of eternity. This is what we could strive for. And I love this idea of aestheticizing our lives, of italicizing our experience, of turning our story into the story, of seeing the universal in the specific, and sort of aligning ourselves with the archetype of the hero's journey, of trying to see a departure from the ordinary in every single instance, a chance to learn something new, a chance to leverage obstacles and learn from them, and meet people along the way that can teach us something. It's what the movie Eat, Pray, Love talks about, quest physics, the physics of the quest. If you believe and you're willing to step out of your comfort zone, life will begin at the edge of your comfort zone. If you're able to treat what seems like despair and what seems like hardship as an opportunity to reinvent yourself and to transcend your own limitations. As Stephen Johnson says, the world is full of clues and you can read your way through it. If you're able to turn your life into an art piece, if you're able to turn your narrative into the narrative, then you become that hero. You become the god of your own life. It's the archetype in every film. It's the Joseph Campbell hero's journey. And that's just rad. That's just a cool idea.
Hi folks, Lee Davey here of the Conscious Endeavour, a new webinar series that I'm putting together. The whole idea with the webinar series is to share the stories of different individuals that have had some degree of success in their lives and have had to overcome different obstacles in order to get to that success and to a feeling of happiness. You know, whether it be with work or with their physique or in a sport or, you know, what have you. I think that the truth is that we all go through tough times. You know, it's very easy to look at someone on the other side of the fence and say, you know what, you had the breaks or you had the money or, you know, you had things easy. You were an overnight success. And, you know, the truth of the matter is that we've all got difficulties and hardships to overcome. And my feeling is that once we share these stories, that there'll be something that resonates within each of you that are going through tough times that can make you stop and say, you know what, they did it, so can I. And that's my hope with this series. I'm betting that there are going to be a lot of creative and similar answers in terms of what people feel success is and some small steps that we can all take in order to achieve that success. I hope you enjoy the series, and I really feel that it's a chance that we can all learn, grow, and achieve together. So yeah, enjoy. My guest today, Ramona.
Yeah, so I came about where I am today, a little bit of a roundabout. Today, I'm a certified craniosacral therapist, and I have a private practice, a small clinic in downtown Toronto where I practice. But my former incarnation, I was a high stress executive in the film and television industry. So I had a corporate job, and it just wasn't really all that fulfilling to me. Like, I found that I was getting really bogged down in a lot of politics and crazy working hours, not really feeling fully appreciated for what I was doing. And an opportunity came up for me to kind of get packaged out and do that. So I took advantage of that, I guess would be a little bit of a odd statement, but I did take advantage of the fact that I had been really good with my money, and I made a decision that I wanted to try something different and get into an industry where I could help support people more, rather than continuing what I was doing. So I started just taking all sorts of classes and trying different things and figuring out what I liked, and landed here finally.
Do you think if you hadn't gotten the buyout, the package, do you think you'd still be there, or do you think everything kind of happens for a reason? Because I know people that are stuck or feel stuck and feel like, I have to do this because it's I have to make money, I have to survive, I have to live. So I know people out there that are like, well, I'm stuck in this job and I can't, I don't have the extra money to make that kind of a shift. How do you feel that played a role in
It's hard to
change?
say with my kind of money mindset. I don't know. I probably would have been nervous, for sure. But I had a bit of one of those epiphany or aha experiences shortly before I left the film and television industry, and I had a really stressful year in 2001, I think it was, and I spent 3.5 months away from home in the beginning of the year. And I came back. I left my relationship. I sold my house. It was really stressful, like a lot of change. So I took some of the money from the sale of the house and I went down to a spa in Texas, and that was where I had my first experience, really, of doing yoga every day and really moving my body and exercising. And then in the evenings, I would go to the spa, and I just had all these treatments. So I got a chance to try a lot of different things. So I tried my first acupuncture, my first Reiki, like things that people term alternative medicine, Eastern. Right? Yeah. So, well, I say alternative like this because I actually never used that terminology. I always say complementary because I really do believe there's a place for both
synergy,
the holistic and the Western medicine. But yeah, so that was a very eye-opening week for me. Like, my first experience of actually feeling energy tingle in my fingers when I was in a Tai Chi class, or having like an emotional release when I was in an exercise class and stuff like that. So when I got back, I really started just reading everything I could about various things and kind of got into it. So, I feel like maybe I was a little bit on that path anyways, but whether I would have had the courage to really just say, okay, I'm going to go for it, it's hard to say. When I felt that energy I was like shaking my hands because I didn't know what it was. And the Tai Chi instructor was like, ooh, because he could actually see, I guess, the energy in my hands. And when I had I think at the spa they called it an energy balancing treatment or something. But I asked the woman after, and she told me she was doing Reiki, because I said, like, what did you have in your hands? Like, why was it so hot? And she kind of laughed. So, that was my first experience of energy work. And so, I became a Reiki master, all sorts of stuff. I just was really interested, because I'd actually had that experience. So I really wanted to find out more about it when I got home. For me, the most challenging thing really is getting clients. So there's the education piece. A lot of people haven't really heard about cranial sacral therapy, somato-emotional release, or some of the other modalities that I do. So a lot of it is really explaining to them how it works, how it could benefit them, and really educating them on the difference between deep tissue work versus deep pressure work.
Sure.
So a lot of people are they're used to, say, massage or something that for them feels like it's going really deep.
Sure.
And the work that I do is very subtle, and it's
very subtle. I've had several treatments.
Yeah. And yet you can probably attest to that it can go very deep.
Absolutely.
I'm not pressing very hard, but it can be really profound and it can go deep. So there's that education piece. And then also, like, the getting of clients, just the other challenge that I have really is that whole thing where, living in a country where we have socialized healthcare with, and then where a lot of people have extended health benefits through their work, and the insurance companies haven't quite caught up to, I think, the cutting edge of holistic
health,
treatments. So
absolutely.
There's still a lot of modalities that they're not, the insurance companies aren't recognizing. So people, they'd rather get something for free.
Yeah. Do you find people are open to it? Most people are open to the idea that, I guess your physical ailments can be attached to emotional and can actually be released through these modalities.
I think people are becoming more open to it, and there's a lot of people who, they'll come seeking treatments for stuff that's pretty much strictly physical, right? If they've been in a car accident or something like that, and so there's different types of work that can be done with this, and most people are open to the idea that things can be released, and it doesn't have to be painful for them. And then the mind-body connection and the connection piece with the emotional stuff, I think people sometimes need to ease into that a little bit. But usually they're open to it. Yeah, there can be, for sure. I wouldn't say that all emotional trauma will turn into something physical.
No, for sure.
But there can be a very direct correlation with emotional trauma that hasn't been fully dealt with.
Sure.
That can later on in life turn into patterns, and whether that be behavior patterns or physical holding patterns. But definitely.
Yeah, I think a lot of people that I've spoken to, anyways, are not necessarily open to that. It's no, there's no way that holding on to my feelings has led me down this path of disease or my stomach not working or cancer or whatever. But I think more and more there's a lot more proof that it is.
Well, and I think probably that the difference there is that by the time people are coming to talk to me about something like cranial sacral therapy or somato-emotional release, they're already a little ways down that path of getting to, like, I can see a connection. I mean, I think if I were to talk to the average person on the street, they would be like, what do you mean? What are you talking about?
Yeah, for sure. So it is a lot about educating people.
Yeah, education. I love seeing the shift sort of on people's faces
Yeah.
when something happens that they weren't expecting.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah.
kind of like, you know, they might be open to it, or like, okay, let's try this, and you know, the work is so gentle, and they're feeling really relaxed. Then all of a sudden, this piece comes up for them, or something shifts, like either for them physically, like their body will move, or they suddenly feel a little sad or angry or whatever it is, and something shifts, and you can see it on their face. They're like, wow, that was cool. So that's really fun for me, is
That's
when
great.
something shifts that someone's not expecting.
That's amazing. Yeah. From my experience, it's. I remember the first time it felt like, and it's so subtle what she does. It's like, you know, I think your assessment is like barely holding my feet, and then she's like, "Oh yeah, like you've got some tightness in this hip," and it was just after I'd injured myself, and so I was overcompensating on my left side, and I'm like, how do you? Like, you're not even touching me. How do you know that? And then just the subtlety of how you're moving across my chest, and I could literally feel with the weight coming off of my chest. So it's so profound, and it's so incredible with what you do. So if you haven't experienced it, you know, we'll get you Ramona's contact info after the webinar, and I suggest that you do, because it's such profound work.
Yeah, that, I mean, was an unusual path, and it really, just having experienced myself, and I'm the kind of person, like, I call myself a class junkie, so really did go and read everything I could get my hands on from the library. I started taking courses just for my own interest, not really thinking at the time like I might actually try to do this for a living. It was more like, wow, like this stuff's so cool, and
it's like a whole other world, right?
Yeah, a whole other world opened up to me. So, but for me, it was just kind of following that interest, I think, was what really ultimately led me down the path, and kind of following my instincts to, yeah, let me delve into this. Let me just allow myself to open up to this whole other world.
Yeah. Is this more of a right brain practice?
Yes, I would say it is. And it's interesting because I would say at the time when I discovered all this work, I was very left brain. I was working in a very left brain environment.
Okay.
And it was difficult for me, for sure, when I first started taking these classes, because I see it now. Like, I'm a certified teaching assistant with the Institute, and I see it now in these level 1 students. So people who have, you know, kinesiology degrees, or even like engineers in the class, and they're there, and you can see their brows furrowed, and they're trying to get it right, and they're trying to feel what they're feeling. And it's like, oh, relax.
Yeah.
And if I can, as a facilitator, if I can get the students to kind of just drop into their body and get out of their head, all of a sudden things will happen. So that's really been the challenge, and the path, I believe, of mastery, and what people might call the right brain side to this work, is the trusting of your instincts, trusting what you feel in your hands, because that's what we do, right? So we listen with our hands. Right? That's how I can put my hands on your feet and just really lightly and just connect in and listen to what your body is saying. So that's really, the challenge.
Yeah,
right brain.
Well, I mean, for those of you who don't know, left brain is more, I guess, analytical and logical. Separates you. It's very linear, very measurable. Whereas the right brain is more about feeling and letting go, and
creativity.
And you know, consciousness as a whole, and energetic, and that sort of thing. So it's really cool when you think about it in that aspect, and all this has been proven. So it's not hocusy pocusy as some people might think.
That's so funny. I don't know if I ever told you this, but when I first started doing this work, my parents both, Asian. My father's a mechanical engineer. My mother was a scientist. Like, she ran a hematology lab at Sick Kids Hospital. Very, very left brain, and they used to refer to what I did as hocus pocus, like literally hocus pocus. And it's so great because both of them now, they both practice Reiki. They're very good at it. And my mother actually took 3 levels of cranial sacral.
Oh, that's so fantastic.
Classes. Yeah, and she was like me, very left brain, sort of like, how does this work? What's the right way? I'm like, no, Mom, you just got to feel into it. And she's really great.
How did they make that transition? Because to tell somebody that's very left brain dominant, that is in that world, that is like, no, this is my world, this is how I am, this is how things are. How do you I guess show them that there is this whole other world that you can tap into, and that you can slowly let go of the left brain and move more into the feeling and the being at one, and all the things we just talked about.
Well, I can tell you from my mom, it was, again, a direct experience of it. So, being of her generation, she broke her big toe. So I guess they were moving something, dropped a table on it, and she didn't realize it was broken. She did a whole Tai Chi class, and then later on, when she took her shoe off, realized it was swollen, went to have it looked at. Yes, it was broken. Well, she was leaving for a long trip that was going to involve a lot of walking to China. And they were leaving in, I don't even know, it was just a few weeks away. And the doctor had told her that at her age, it would take, I think, 17 weeks for the big toe to really, heal. So she had some concerns. And I said I would come over and do some Reiki, which is really good for broken bones. And she kind of went, oh, poo-poo, whatever. So, she was talking to, I think, my father, and I just kind of knelt on the floor and put my hands, I wasn't even really like touching, but I just kind of put my hands around her big toe. I was like speaking to my dad. So what I didn't realize until she told the story to somebody later, she was sitting there like this, again, brow furrowed, because what she said she was feeling was, she felt her big toe start to vibrate really quickly, but like that quickness that you can't cause it yourself.
Yeah.
And she literally tried to make her mind like
stop
the toe, right? So when she couldn't control it, she was like, okay, this is weird, what's going on? And then she said she felt like a sewing machine, how the needle goes up and down. She felt like she had the feeling of like this sewing machine or something in her big toe the whole time. I have no idea what's going on.
Sure.
I'm feeling heat. I'm talking to my dad, la, 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 la. And I came over one more time on the day I was driving them to the airport, put my hands around, and there wasn't really anything happening, which is kind of how I can tell when I do something like Reiki that, oh, okay, nothing's happening. I said, I think it feels okay to me, Mom. Like, it's not doing anything today. And they left on the trip. I think it was less than 3 weeks after she'd actually broken it. She had no problems. They walked the Silk Road, everything.
Wow.
And so she came back and she thought, okay, that's a little weird. And she still wasn't necessarily convinced. Still pretty, but then we saw a flyer at the, there was this church or something down the street where I can't remember what, we were there for some sort of talk or something, and there happened to be a flyer and there was a Reiki class, and I said, Mom, look, it's down the street, what do you think? And she turned out to be really good at it, and then my father kind of followed along.
That's great.
Yeah, and he does have that Eastern tradition of Qigong and stuff, so they understand it. My father at least kind of was open to those concepts. Anyway, so
I know when you treated me, I had the same thing. So again, that hip injury, when you're over top of that area, it almost felt like electricity, like shooting down. And the longer you were there, the more intense it got. So there's definitely some energy exchange going on, folks. So
intense, that's a polite word. I'm going to say probably the biggest thing that I had to overcome now, looking back on it from where I am now, is confidence.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was such a different thing, and the people and my friends that I knew from my corporate life, a lot of them weren't the kind of people who were maybe as open to, um, the holistic world. So it wasn't even like I could count on, like, oh, all those friends are going to flood over and support me in my
Sure,
new
sure.
endeavor. And then for
It's
myself,
probably
like
the
I
opposite.
said, yeah, no. And I really did struggle in the beginning when I was learning a lot of these modalities, because I was very left brain and trained in a certain way, right? There was a right way to do things, and what is this intuition stuff? So
Yeah.
I think just having the confidence that what I was doing was really helping people, and that they could, like, big shifts could happen in their life. I don't have those same kind of, I don't have those issues now, but I do remember in the beginning being hesitant a little.
Would you draw a connection to that? Because I know from the spiritual work that I've done and continue to do, it's especially at the very beginning, um, it is about trusting and making that connection and feeling that connection, because it's not something that you see outright with the naked eye, especially at the very beginning.
Yes. Yeah. So yes, for me, it's spiritual in the sense of there's so much about it that is individual and so personal. So from my point of view, as I was learning, it was learning to trust myself,
Sure.
connect with my intuition, and my instincts, and even for our clients, right? It's part of the education is really about somehow with my hands, like facilitating that connection for them between their bodies and what's going on inside with what's happening for them, again, holistically.
Sure.
Right? So in that sense, it's very spiritual, because the journey is different for everybody.
Yeah.
And it does, you're right, it does require that leap of faith and trusting what you feel inside and all that, right? Even though it may not make sense, or there's no linear answer to it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well. Yeah, because I know in spiritual practice, that's what we talk about is going inside and finding the answers from within. And there's a great book, movie by Dan Millman called The Way of the Spiritual Warrior. And they talk a lot about that so often, especially in our society today, we look for answers externally from teachers, from books, and all we need to do is quiet down and go inside, and we've actually got all the answers that that you could ever ask for. So it's pretty cool that you're helping facilitate that for people.
Yeah, I tell people that, when they're on the table, or even, students, when I see them, the answers are not up here,
No.
right? You got to get into the tissues and into your body. And it's tough for people. I really, really have compassion for that. So I think sometimes in the beginning, that's when you really need some help or facilitation in getting that connection. And then once they see that, oh yeah, when I get connected, things start to happen, then they're more apt to go, learn meditation, or go on a retreat, or quiet them.
Yeah, quiet this, quiet the mind.
That's right.
Quiet the mind. It's all that chatter.
Yeah.
It's funny because I just had a conversation with somebody about this morning, and we were talking about how do you continue to get up, and I think character is built that way. Strong relationships are built that way. So how do you deal with the downs and get recharged for more and more of the ups?
Well, for myself personally, I have a great network of friends who are really supportive of what I do.
Yeah. So
And
surrounding
just,
yourself with
surrounding yourself
with the
with
right
people
people.
who care about you.
That's huge.
And it's not necessarily like they don't, they're not all my clients, you know what I mean? Like they're not necessarily even themselves in a space where they may not even believe so much in what I do, but they're just very supportive of me personally.
Sure.
I tend to want to be around those people.
Yeah.
When things are down, I really I love quiet time.
So you can go inside.
Yeah. And a lot of it just my forms of relaxation are often very quiet. I mean,
Sure.
I'm not the kind of person who likes to go out to a club or something for fun. Like I'd much rather be at home and reading a book, or what one of my vices is watching the Food Network. So
Oh, that's good.
yeah.
That's creative.
I love food. I love to eat.
Yeah,
Eating. Okay, I'll say it. I'm eating. I love to eat.
Well, that's some part where you fuel your body with too, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Definitely my clients.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned, that how much I love seeing them when something shifts that they weren't expecting, and it's always, even though it's not as unexpected to me, because I've come to expect miracles, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah.
With clients, it's so wonderful to know that someone's life has shifted. Like there's less pain, or there's less sadness, or they have the confidence to move forward in life where they didn't before, or whatever. And just being able to see that, that's the juice that keeps me going. I think at the heart of it, we all just want to make a difference.
Yeah.
For people, right?
Yeah.
I think it's one of the core. I think Tony Robbins even has that on his sort of top 6 things that everybody wants. It's and then people who are kind of in what they call the helping profession, like we just really want to make a difference for people. So seeing that is like a huge reward, right?
Yeah, and I think that's oftentimes with my industry where I think we fall down. It's like people get competitive, people get like, no, I know more than you. And at the end of the day, we're all trying to do the same thing. So like, why not band together and try to help as many people as possible, rather than like bickering over my way is better than your way. Like, who cares? Just find the best way to suit your clients, and then if those clients don't kind of jive with what you're saying, then send them elsewhere.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
there'll be somebody who fits with them. The interesting thing for me is the first thing that pops to mind when you ask me that is what it's not for me.
Okay.
And it's not money. Like money doesn't drive me, and that's not how I measure my success. So, obviously I need to make enough money.
Sure.
But my measure of success is probably what comes back to me from clients in terms of what's shifted for them.
Okay.
What opened up for them? What are they now able to do? What's available to them now?
How has their life changed?
Yeah. Sorry, I just look at the share what I think of. So I wish I could tell you about all the wonderful things that have happened for clients, but like big things.
Yeah.
And
Do you have
sometimes
any-
I don't like make the connection, right? Because if it's something like, let's say, like low self-esteem or whatever,
Sure,
like
sure.
they don't necessarily connect it to like, oh, I don't have that back pain anymore or whatever. And then, but suddenly, things open up for them
Yeah.
that yeah, as they were on the table, like you can hear them getting stronger and stronger, and just how they're speaking and carrying in themselves. You can see it in their posture, all sorts of stuff.
Wow. Do you have any other examples? Give me like two kind of monumental examples.
Well,
Okay.
I can tell you about
Like
one because
that.
she's written me this like amazing testimonial, and the greatest thing about this is that, not the greatest thing. It's sort of, I probably should have asked, but she never told me any of this. It was a young woman in her young 20s, healthy performer, and she came to me and she was experiencing all sorts of physical symptoms like bad pain with her monthly cycle, digestive issues. She had some physical trauma, really bad break of her ankle when she was 8 years old, all sorts of stuff. But she had other things going on, like emotional things that I didn't even know about because she was an actor on the outside. You couldn't really tell, right?
Yeah.
But what she wrote for me in a written thing later was that she said it was all an act. She didn't feel confident to like stand tall and be proud and of who she was. And we did 6 sessions, and various things started to open up for her. She has no more menstrual pain whatsoever. She can now eat out at restaurants and not have to worry about staying close to a bathroom or anything. She so an emotional connection did open up for her, and she shed some tears on her last session. And when she
such powerful work, by the way,
stood up,
doing a lot of that lately.
When she stood up, I could actually see something was different about her posture. And what she wrote was she was laughing. Actually, she looked at her face in the mirror, and she said she could see herself. And when she walked outside, she said every time she actually tried to look at the ground, which was her normal pattern, her body wouldn't allow her.
Oh, wow.
So she had to like stand up straight. Like it was like her body from the inside was telling her that she was missing out on stuff.
Yeah.
That she was missing out on the world. And that was just,
so incredible.
Yeah.
How did she... was it her choice to come and see you in the first place?
Yeah, she sought me out. She'd had a treatment, I think, in Ottawa with somebody that she knew doing some visceral work that I think that woman is a physiotherapist, and she thought, well, go find somebody who does this because I think it can help you with your digestive pain or your menstrual pain. And so she, ended up finding me that way just through a search, not really thinking that any of her confidence issues or emotional things that it would be part of it. And, frankly, I didn't either. Like she came to me, she told me for a very specific reason, there's this. And when I assessed her, I just, I work where the body leads me.
Yeah.
So it came up on its own. This is the secret to the hocus pocus, right? So I really, what I do in a nutshell is I listen with my hands.
Okay.
And so the art part of what I do is putting my hands on somebody, like you described. I just put them kind of down by your feet. But what I do then is just kind of blend and meld and connect in with your body tissues.
Okay.
If I were to try to describe it, it's sometimes almost as if there's no, almost as if I can't necessarily feel like where your body ends and where my hands. So I'm very, really kind of melted. And that's when I'll start to feel, some kind of pull here, or that's how I can feel like, ooh, this side's much tighter than this, or whatever. So when I go to start working, I just follow, where the connective tissue starts to pull me. And that's why I think you noticed a couple times, like I had my hand somewhere and then it would kind of start to creep somewhere else. And that's really the tissues, your tissues inside kind of leading me in a certain direction. And my hand just follows because I'm always going to follow the lead of the body. Because the thing is that your body tissues are way more intelligent than me. right? So
So-
your body always knows how it wants to heal,
and what it needs.
and I call it the order of operations too, because when I was working with a woman who'd had multiple, I think she had 11 or 12 whiplashes over the years,
Oh.
and I held her head. I invited her neck to do what it needed. It started to unwind something, which was clearly a whiplash, because and she could feel it too. And I asked her, did it feel familiar to her? And she said, well, that was my most recent one.
Wow.
And it finished. And then it started to do something else. I can't remember if it was that session or the next one. And she said that was the second most recent one. So I thought, we'll just unwind these, layer by layer. But then the next one it did, I saw this strange look on her face, and I said, what? And she said, wow, this is one from 20 years ago. So it was, I think, the second one that she'd ever had. So,
And how does she just like?
Well,
I guess
she
she's
could-
getting intuitive.
Yeah, like either
visuals
her
with
head
it?
went in the same position as it did during the car accident, or she had a memory of it or something. But the point for me is that if I had
kind of led the.
like if I had been leading, I would have just logically thought, okay, like last in, first out kind of thing. But her body knew what order it wanted to unwind things in, so we just followed what her body wanted to do in the order it wanted to go in.
And it's so like, just bring up the point about how did she know, or how did her body know?
Mm-hmm.
I think all those emotions and that trauma, physical, emotional, whatever, that pain is actually, I think every cell of the body will have an imprint of that and hold on to that stuff. So the fact that it can also, that it can hold on to it, but it can also be released is I think, a very profound thing to take away from this.
Yeah, and I think part of that too is believing, or at least being open to, that there's an inner wisdom somewhere in you, and there's a part of you that always has the answer.
Yeah.
It may not be easy to access, but if you can believe that there is something inside you that has the answer or knows how to heal it, then it's a matter of tapping into that.
I agree.
There's so much healing that's wanted and needed in the world.
Yeah.
So that's why I keep doing what I do.
It's amazing.
It really was a bit of a leap of faith for me, and coming at it from that more left side of like, oh, okay, how many, like really thinking like, how many clients do I need, and coming at it from that way rather than just trusting and doing good work and doing the work that I did and trusting that it was all going to follow. So just really the biggest change is just switching the mindset, right, and then trusting my right brain and the creativity a little bit more. It's interesting that you're asking me this, because I did a lot of work recently on this exact thing about like, what do I need in my life and how does that support the people around me, and I really clearly got that concept. Like, when you're on the plane and they have that safety video and they say, oh, when the masks drop, put your own mask on before you help the person next to you, even if it's a child and stuff. And I really got that so clearly, because I know that I have a tendency to run around and try to, like, I say yes to too many things, and I try to do, oh, you need that? Oh, I can help. Okay, yes. And it just wasn't serving me or the people around me. So I got really clear that in order to help support the people around me, I have to be cared for. So I'm much more careful now about getting enough sleep. I setting boundaries, which often means not saying yes to everything, even if it's something that I really can help with. Just making sure that I'm sleeping well, eating well, getting outside, walking. I bought a pedometer and just trying to like up my exercise and stuff like that. And it makes a difference for people around me too. It just sleep is the big thing because then I'm not grumpy or impatient with them.
Yeah, I think it goes back to the old saying, you have to love yourself before you can love others. So and I think that transfers over into this. If you're not taking care of yourself, how are you able to impact other people at the level in which you want?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's that's been a huge lesson for me too over the last little while. Really going inside and listening and doing all the work that needs to be done in order to have an impact out here.
Yeah.
So it's huge. So many people feel stuck.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't have a choice. Like it's not up to me. I can't eat during work because I'm too busy. Like I've got deadlines. I've got I can't work out after because I've got to work 15 hours a day. Ultimately, you have a choice.
Yes. It really is about knowing that you're the one making that choice. But I think in terms of advice, the biggest thing for me is do something different. I can't remember who has that saying, like, if you want a different life, then start saying and doing different things.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah,
because whatever pattern that you're caught in now, like whether it's like never eating your lunch because your work's too stressful, or never exercising or working out, whatever, it's not working for you, obviously, because you're saying things to indicate that you're not happy with it. And
your body's saying things.
Yeah, and nothing's going to change if you don't. So, you can start small. Right? It's like carving out or just saying, you know what, as of today, this stops here. I am having my lunch every day, or I am going to get to my workout, X number of times a week. Even if you just start with one time a week and then just, you can make changes and implement them. And then once it's in your life, then you can take the next step.
Sure.
And that works for some people.
Small kind of incremental.
Other people it works better to go cold turkey or a whole hog, and you have to figure out what works best for you. But you gotta do something different because nothing is going to change if you don't
change.
Try something different.
Exactly.
Sure.
Yeah, I agree.
One would be get a support system. So, however that works for you, whether it's an accountability system or a buddy, you're much more likely to get up and throw your clothes on in the winter if you're actually meeting somebody to go for a walk.
Yeah. Yep.
Some people have sort of either reward systems or consequence or punishment systems, whatever, again, it works best for your motivation.
More bees with honey.
Yeah, exactly. Like for some people it works better, like every time they do their X number of workouts at the gym, they put $5 in a jar, and at the end of the money, they, whatever, they get to buy new shoes or go on vacation, however. And for other people, it works better if they don't
reprimanded.
Then they have to give somebody $5. I had a girlfriend who told the receptionist at her gym, if you don't see me here 3 times in a week, I'm going to give you $5. And this wasn't even anybody that she knew, and she did. She'd give her $5.
Wow.
If anybody, I'm happy to be that person for you. But that could be. But having somebody to support you, even friends just like to cheer you on when you make your goals, that's great.
I find I used to actually, I guess this is people taking accountability for their own journey, but I used to tell people like, I'm going to do a show, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that, and tell like everybody. And then it's kind of like, if you don't do it, it's like, well, why did I thought you were doing this? Like, why didn't you do it? So it kind of makes you, it's kind of a different way to be like,
Flexibility for me, I think I like slow and stretching. So that could look like yoga for some people, like just learning a very simple, like a sun salutation or something like that, but something that you can do on your own, that you're not, that you're doing correctly, so you're not going to hurt yourself.
Sure.
But flexibility is a really important component of fitness. And look, you could kill two birds with one stone, because yoga is very stress reducing for some people. Breathing, really, I would say, is my number one way to reduce stress.
Yeah.
If you're in a crazy situation at work or trying to meet a deadline, even taking like 5 seconds, I gotta sit back or hang up the phone and sit back and just take in 3 deep breaths.
Sure.
And then, head off. But even that is enough to kind of slow down your heart rate just that little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. And breathing diaphragmatically.
Yes.
So many people
take a whole breath.
Take those chest breaths,
yes.
breaths up in the high sternum, and it's all you have to do is put your hands on your stomach and feel your belly button come out and come back in when you breathe out. So a lot of people, I don't think, take those full.
Yeah, because some people have never had even the experience of that. Like, they have to learn.
Yeah,
you have to
absolutely.
no, keep coming down here. But thank you for distinguishing, because that is what I meant by deep breath, like a full breath for sure.
Yeah.
And nutrition, if I had to say only one thing, I would say for the most average people out there is increase, probably double your water intake.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge. Yeah, absolutely. Just carry a bottle around with you.
Yeah.
Right, and you're bound to sip on it. And the more you drink, it's kind of like the more you can drink, and the more thirsty your body is for it. Right, like a lot of people, like when they're not used to drinking, it's like, oh, I'm not thirsty. But then when they start and get used to it, then the body is like craves it.
Yeah, there's a book out there called Your Body's Many Cries for Water. And I think it's not well written, but it's written by a doctor. And there's a lot of things with water that your body, as a survival mechanism, will actually shut off the thirst signal.
Oh, wow.
Because it's not getting enough water. So one of the complaints, I had a friend who really took this on. He was chronically dehydrated. Like, you could even see it in his skin.
Yeah.
And he was complaining to me. He said, I don't like this because I have to go to the bathroom now every, 3 minutes. And I said, it's going to change. It's just, once you start giving your body water on a regular basis, the body realizes, oh my gosh, I'm getting water, and it's not just a one-time thing like an oasis in the desert. So it was turning back on his thirst signal, and so he was wanting to drink more water. And in the beginning, he had to go to the bathroom a little bit more, but it kind
balances
of
out.
It balanced itself out. But like for me, whenever I start to feel like, oh, I might be getting a headache, the first thing I do is drink water, and sometimes that's enough to make it go away. Sometimes when you think you're hungry, if you drink water, they say if you've actually eaten within the last 3 hours, I think it is, like, try having some water, because it actually could be that your body is thirsty. And so then that sometimes helps people with weight loss. There's so many things that water
many benefits. Yeah.
And especially like in Canada, we live in this really cold, dry climate in the winter, and then just with your skin, right? Like, you're helping to hydrate yourself from the inside out, like, rather than just slathering on more moisturizer and
more skincare products.
Water.
Yeah. And just a couple of points. A lot of people don't necessarily like the taste. I mean, I find it refreshing. It's the only thing I drink. But you can do it in like green teas. There are lots of teas herbal teas that don't even need to be steeped in hot water, so you can do them in cold water to improve the taste. You can do liquid chlorophyll, which has a kind of a minty taste. You can put lemon or lime or sliced a cucumber, that sort of thing, just to give it a little bit of a different flavor. So there are lots of things that you can do to actually improve the taste as well.
And the thing about lemon water is people think, oh, lemon is really acidic. But lemon water, when it's taken internally, has an alkalizing effect on your body. So
Very
lemon water is
important.
really good for
Lemon
you.
water.
Really,
Yeah,
really
for sure.
good for you.
Absolutely.
I think being open is be open that you don't already know the answer. Like in some way, it's not something that you might already know or have heard of.
Intellectually.
Exactly.
Speaking. Yeah.
You may be one of these people who really tries to keep up on the news and all this, and just be open that it might be something that you've never heard of before, and be willing to try it. It might not be for everybody, but if you never try,
How can you know?
how can you know?
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's basically like not trying. If you don't explore for yourself and execute, it's basically like, oh yeah, I already know it's not going to work.
Yeah.
How do you know it's not going to work?
Well, I think
You
I
need to
love
experience it.
Yeah, life is one big exploration.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
So
100%.
whether that be traveling to explore, but like life, the journey is an exploration. Otherwise, what are you doing? You're just waking up and going to work, going to bed, waking up, going to work.
Oh, thanks. There's more to life than
and
work.
then you wake up one day and you're like, wow, I'm 10 years older. How did that happen?
Yeah, or I'm 50 or I'm 60.
Yeah.
And then it's like, yeah. It goes like that, folks. So. I'd love for your feedback. What do you guys want to hear about next time? Did any of this resonate with you? And if so, what? I'm sure Ramona would love to hear your feedback as well. What challenges have you guys had to overcome? And if you haven't tried craniosacral or somato-emotional release, get in touch with Ramona because she's very skilled, she's very good, very caring, and really could help change your life. Absolutely. Topics in the future, that sort of thing, and how can you guys implement some of the things that we discussed today? So these are all things that we can go through when you contact us in person.
Yeah, that'd be cool to hear about somebody who implemented something and what a difference it makes.
Yeah, I mean, we'd love to hear back from you, for sure. So what I'll do after is I'll put Ramona's email and contact info up on the site. Do you have an idea of what you might be doing for people, or do you just want to?
Yeah, I think what I'll do is people coming through this series. What I'd love to do is kind of offer a session, like a 3-session kind of a thing. So it really gives them a chance to give it a go and see if it works with their body.
Sure, really experience it.
And offer some savings. So it'll be like getting a free session, really.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Fantastic. And as I said, I'm going to be doing a call. So, if you guys want to do a 1-hour phone call, the information will be up there, and you can get in touch with me, and hopefully we can help change some lives.
Yeah, awesome.
Awesome. Thanks. See you next time.
Bye.